Hey, welcome to another edition of the Mark and Mitch Show. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but we wanted to catch up with you guys and just kind of chat a bit about what's going on. Mitch, how
Yeah,
are you?
good, good. And there is a lot to chat about. We are, of course, in May of 2019. We just did
Yes.
the M3 Festival down in Columbia, Maryland together. And your wife was there, my daughter was there, Jeremy White from our local radio station here in Montreal made the trip too. And it was, as always, spectacular. The bands that they chose, of course, it's all the 80s bands, the 80s hair metal bands, if you want. And I have no problem saying hair metal. It was just delightful. I mean, David Coverdale and Whitesnake were absolutely great. Tora, big surprise, never seen them live, terrific. And Extreme, I think, for me, stole the show. How about you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed so many of the performances, but for me, it was a few of the bands that I'd never seen before
Right.
and have been fans of. One being Black and Blue. I mean, they just really brought it. I thought they were so good, sounded great, and it was just a thrill having been a fan of these guys since literally the mid 80s. This is the first time I've ever seen them live. So I was psyched to see their set. Kingdom Come, another band
Yeah.
who I have not seen since the Monsters of Rock tour, where they toured with the Scorpions and Metallica and Van Halen and Dokken. So it's been many decades since I saw them, and I thought they were just great. The new singer Keith really doing a great job with the Lenny vocals, and besides Keith, the rest of the band, I mean, that was the original lineup of Kingdom Come. So great festival as always. And yeah, you can never go wrong with Whitesnake and Vince Neil. A little rainy on Sunday, but it didn't kill my vibe at all.
No, and you're right about Keith St. John and Kingdom Come. Absolutely spectacular. He fits right in. The other guy doesn't want to tour, so why should the band, four-fifths or whatever, sit at home and do nothing? No reason for it. Now, next year on M3, I'm going to throw some names at you. I would like to see, and I know, forgetting all the reality of costs associated about flying people around, I would love to see a little bit
Right.
more European representation and maybe some Canadian representation. And I'll throw two bands or maybe three bands at you. I'll start off with Honeymoon Suite. I've spoken to the festival about Honeymoon Suite, and they're like, well, we don't think it fits. I think they fit great. And also Helix. So on my two Canadian band suggestions, Honeymoon Suite and Helix, where do you sort of see yourself?
On those two suggestions,
Yeah.
Helix, yes, for sure, definitely would totally fit right in. We, of course, saw them last year at Heavy Montreal, and I thought they were
Yeah.
just excellent, on fire, really. So, yeah, I think Helix, absolutely. Honeymoon Suite,
Come
I
on,
could
feel it
see it.
again. Feel it again. Great song.
Yeah, I could see them fitting in. I mean, we had Loverboy a couple years ago. So I don't know. For me, that's not a band that I'm going to go crazy about if they're on the lineup. But that's just me. But Helix, absolutely. I think Helix would be a great addition to
All
the
right.
festival. Just my opinion.
If you were looking for a Canadian band as an American, who would you want? And of course, listen, I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure Rush we can't get. Triumph hasn't done a show in 15 years or what. Realistically, is there a Canadian band that you would look at? I mean, Helix, I guess, but maybe Killer Dwarves, anything?
I mean, Killer Dwarves would definitely be a great addition
And they've
too.
done it.
For me, and you got to tell me, I mean, because you're, I think, more up on this band nowadays than I am. But what about April Wine? I mean, are they out
Yes,
there
they're
doing it? I mean,
they're they're
I would
active and doing it.
I would love April Wine. I saw April Wine. Well, I've never seen April Wine, but I was a big fan of April Wine when I was in junior high school. The Nature of the Beast album, I just love that album. To this day, one of my favorite albums. April Wine would be absolutely incredible, and I think would fit in quite well with the M3 vibe.
Yeah, I agree. They are still out there. They are still touring. They are still doing it. So let us move over to European bands that could or
Okay.
should or would come over. Now, you look at Whitesnake and you can argue that it's a European band, even though it's only David Coverdale. Europe has already done the festival, so I'm gonna skip on them. Though if they come back, they'd be great. But I'm going to
Yeah.
throw a couple of, I'm going to throw three names at you. From, of course, the Backstreet Symphony big album, I would go with Thunder. They've been around, I
Okay.
think, 30, 35 years. No, 30 years about now. Uh, I think they'd be great. I mean, they certainly sound like it. Then I would throw at you Black Star Riders. I think Black Star Riders gives you a little bit of new cred, and they could come in and sort of do maybe a mix of some Thin Lizzy and some Black Star Riders. And then the Swiss band Gothard that has been around for years and years and years, I think would fit in great. Of course, you're going to spend $25,000 to fly them over and sell an extra 500 tickets. I don't know, but those are the ones I'd like to see.
Yeah.
So start off. What do you think of those suggestions, and what do you think of in terms of European bands that you'd like to see come over?
I think those are, I mean, those are all good suggestions. They're a little outside of the box for me. I think as far as M3 goes, like Black Star Riders, who I love. Okay, so it's new stuff. They've had what, 3 albums out of new material, and then you
And
got
they'll
the
have 4 by next year because there's a new
four.
album coming
Okay.
later this year. So
Well, that should be interesting without Damon Johnson. I'm curious to what that'll sound like. But
yeah,
the to me, I'm not exactly sure they fit the M3 vibe because Thin Lizzy, definitely they were around in the early 80s, but they were more of a 70s era band. And I feel like M3 needs to be more specifically 80s. Now you could argue that, well, Whitesnake was 70s era. Yeah, but they didn't really break in North America until the 80s. So I definitely think Whitesnake is more 80s era. So Black Star Riders, yeah, maybe, maybe not. I mean, I think to me it's all about the glammy metal, the hair metal, as you're saying, and the classic traditional stuff. So Gothard, I don't know. I don't know if they would really fit into that because they never really had hits over in North America, at least none that I know of. So I don't know. I think they have to have some history, like every band we saw this year had history in the 80s, or even a band like Vane, the early 90s. What was the third one you mentioned?
I said Gothard, Thunder,
Thunder.
or yeah, Thunder, and all right. So let me get off of that for a second. How about a band like Foreigner? If you're talking hits and you're talking recognizability, is Foreigner, because they had most of their hits in the 80s. I mean, yes, of course, the first album I think was 77 or so, but when you think of Foreigner, you think of those albums in the early 80s that had all the big hits, The Urgents and I Don't Want to Know What Love Is. Do they count? Because we know
Well,
they'd be great.
yeah, I mean, and I saw Foreigner with Whitesnake this past summer, and they blew my mind. It was such a great show, and the place, in New Jersey was completely packed. I mean, it was
Yeah.
unbelievable. There had to be, 12,000 people there. So I do think they'd be a tremendous draw, which I think is also important. However, if you're going to be a real traditionalist and say, well, it has to be metal and it has to be 80s, and again, glam metal, commercial hard rock metal from the 80s, I don't think Foreigner fits that bill. But I
But
don't think
but
Loverboy did either. And they
right.
had Loverboy on what was that, 2-3 years ago?
Right,
So
and Loverboy and Foreigner are, I don't want to say they're the same band, but they're the
right.
same sort of fan base, same genre. So
Yes.
so if
Yeah.
Loverboy makes it, then for I don't know. It's interesting, but it's a great festival, folks. If you haven't gone, M3, you have to go. It is absolutely spectacular, and I was
I'd like to
just
see Keel, by the way. I think Keel would be a good addition.
oh
Yeah.
yes,
I think they would really get Ron Keel out there just playing some Keel hits,
yeah.
yeah, The Right to Rock, Because the Night, I think that would really be a great little 30-45 minute potent set for M3, Ron Keel. And I think he's done it before.
Yeah, he'd be great. Anyway, there's a lot of bands that would be great. It would be nice, of course, to get Cinderella back together.
Yeah, that's what they need. Cinderella reunion concert at M3 2020 would be absolutely off the hook. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm so and Tom Kiefer, his solo stuff's been great, and I know he's working on another solo record, but I'm so desperate for a Cinderella reunion. Really.
Yeah, 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 because they're great live. All right, how about this? Is Billy Idol way out of the box too?
Well, that's
Wrong,
interesting. Billy
wrong
Idol.
vibe. I mean, because he is. He's not pop rock, even though his songs became pop rock hits, if you want. But there
Right.
was a punk edge to it. I mean, Rebel Yell is as powerful as anything of the bands we saw this year in terms of songs.
Yeah, I mean Rebel Yell definitely a
Come on, White Wedding
heavy
Dance.
metal edge. Yeah,
Yeah,
had a heavy metal edge to it for sure. But again,
wrong
for
festival.
me,
Okay.
yeah, for me at the M3 Rock Festival, he's not exactly right. I feel like he's again not a metal band, and it does need to have that that root in 80s, early 90s
Metal. Okay.
metal, sleaze rock, glam metal. And you could argue Queensryche last year. Well, did they fit into that? And I would say, well, they're a little more progressive. I mean, I wouldn't think that Fate's Warning would be right on the M3 lineup, but Queensryche, because they had Silent Lucidity and some other more traditional hits and rock ballads, I feel like they fit the bill. But even they were a slight stretch for me.
Yeah, I think so too. And I put the question to folks on my Twitter and other socials, and I was getting answers like Overkill and Sacred Reich, and
No,
I was like,
I love Overkill, but no, not at M3.
yeah,
Definitely
and
not.
I'm just like, some said, I mean, I got Anvil, I got Anthrax, and I was like, all great bands, but that's the wrong festival. I mean, that's
Yeah,
almost like it's almost like heavy Montreal booking, Billy Idol or something. It's just like, oh, okay,
right.
maybe. Anyway, and I was just in your neck of the woods. I came down to see Pretty Woman the musical, and you're thinking, why are we talking musicals on a rock talk show or on a metal show? But it was written by Bryan Adams and Jim Vallance. Jim Vallance and Bryan Adams wrote Rock and Roll Hell for Kiss. They wrote War
Right.
Machine for Kiss. They wrote, of course, Summer of '69. So I'm just going to tell folks, if you're in New York and you want to see something that's light and fun, you know the movie, so you'll know the play, and the songs sound like Bryan Adams because, as Jim told me, they wrote it. He wrote them in his voice and his inflection and stuff, and so now the actors are basically just doing Bryan Adams, and
Wow,
it's
cool.
it's it's a fun show. So if you're near the Nederlander Theater, which is on 41st, I think, if I remember correctly,
Okay.
you'll enjoy that. I don't know if you get out to plays and stuff, but you and I will be getting out to Billy Idol, Billy
Billy Joel.
Joel.
Yeah.
Well, Billy Idol too. I'm going to get to on August 6th in Syracuse. That
And is that with
Brian,
Bryan Adams? Yeah, I
yeah,
think
it's
we're
it's
gonna
a
hit that
co-bill.
in Jersey. Yeah, Bryan Adams and Billy Idol in New Jersey. Because believe it or not, I've never seen either one of those guys live. So
Wow,
yeah,
wow,
I'd like to see
shame,
them.
shame.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, and in fact, I emailed Steve Stevens this morning to try to set up an interview for Rock Talk. So hopefully that'll come through. We were going to do it last Friday, but I happened to go to New York to see Pretty Woman, so I couldn't.
Yeah,
But
cool.
hopefully we'll get it done. What is coming up on Talking Metal, Talking Rock?
Well, I just posted a video interview of Kingdom Come on the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/talking metal. Please check it out, like it, and share it. And I have an interview that you and I did with Steve Brown coming up on also on the YouTube channel,
Awesome.
and Tora video interview, Vixen video interview, all from M3.
Yeah, that'll be fun to
And
watch.
yeah, and I got a great interview that I'm going to post in the next week that I did with Chuck, the guy you introduced me to, Billy Joel's drummer.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. We'll get that up real soon. And I'm trying to think of what else is.
Well,
I feel like I got a ton of stuff.
since you're mentioning Chuck, I know in your interview and my interview with him, he mentioned having done stuff on Broadway, as a working musician does.
Right.
The Pretty Woman the musical, they actually use Cyndi Lauper's drummer. He plays
Oh,
along,
wow.
which is kind of cool. Right, they all have this thing. On my wonderful Rock Talk, I just put up a an episode with Kane Roberts and Calico Cooper and
Right.
Chuck Garrick, which you can get over at the iHeart app, and of course I've got a whole bunch of Mitch t-shirts at loudtracks.com, Loudtracks. x.com, and then in the search box you just put Mitch. It'll bring you right to the page, so you can get that. And there you go.
Well,
15 minutes, Mark. Look at that.
yeah.
We are efficient.
Before we go, real quick, not to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
any new music you're listening to that I should know about, we should know about?
Yeah, I have, I'm just trying to think. I bought, of course, the new Tesla. I bought the new White Snake Flesh and Blood. I bought the new Jim Pederick World Stage, which has Jim Pederick, who of course was in Survivor. It's 12 songs. Yeah, it's 12 songs, and one is sung by Kevin Cronin of REO Speedwagon. One is sung by the guys in 38 Special. One is sung by Dennis DeYoung.
Cool.
Except so one is done. What's it called? When the bullet bites. Anyway, there's a song done by Mike Reno of Loverboy, since we were just talking about it. Fantastic. I mean, absolutely
Cool.
fantastic. And the Wild Hearts out of the UK, which of course would be a great band for M3, they have a new album out that I bought that I'm listening to, and I'm unfortunately forgetting the title of, so I'm just going to quickly tell folks because you always have to promote the Wild Hearts because Ginger is absolutely terrific. It's called Renaissance Men. I have it in my iPhones.
Cool.
So the Wild Hearts Renaissance Men. Yeah, you should check that out actually. I'm not sure if the other stuff is up your well, Whitesnake, it's of course up your alley,
Right.
Tesla. Wild Hearts. Go to Spotify and spin that Renaissance Man or Men.
All right.
It's a glam punk. It's like Billy Idol meets M3 Festival.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Is it?
Cool. I'm digging A New Revenge, James Kotek and
Oh
Ripper
yeah,
Owens.
yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
a very, very good record that I was a little late to the party with that. It's been out a couple months now, but it is excellent. And the other one that just blows my mind is the new LA Guns, The Devil You Know. I
Oh
think that's
right.
an excellent, excellent record. Two albums that everyone should go get
Agreed.
immediately, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you asked me stuff that you wouldn't know, so I left those two off. But yeah, of course, the new
Yeah.
LA Guns is brilliant.
Yeah.
By the way,
So.
since we're on LA Guns, what did you think of the M3 performance of that other LA Guns? Is that taboo to talk about?
Yeah, I don't think so. I thought they did a really great job, and I had just seen, Phil and Tracy's version of LA Guns in New York like 2 weeks prior to that, and I mean, I have to admit I think they were a little better just because it's the guitar player you're used
The
to and the
voice. It's the
vocals
voice.
you're used to, the voice. Having said that, I thought I really enjoyed seeing Stephen Riley's LA Guns at M3. They were fun and
Yeah.
sounded great. I mean, it wasn't a train wreck, that's for sure, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It was very compelling. It wasn't a train wreck at all. I do think that the vocalist had the wrong inflections. They were
Right.
finishing off. When Phil sings, he finishes off words in a certain way or whatever, and we weren't getting those little and it made a difference to my ears. Like, oh, he didn't say oh whatever.
Right.
I of course, but you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not going to badmouth it at all. It was, and of course, the singer, if you didn't know, was in a band in Canada called Black Diamond, which was a Kiss tribute, and he was Ace Frehley or Tommy
Oh,
Thayer,
okay.
whatever you
Did
want.
not
He,
know.
he
Yeah.
was a Tommy
You
Thayer.
knew it was Tommy Thayer. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the spaceman in
Right. I
that,
got you.
depending on what area. But
Right.
so hey, for Ace Frehley to come out and sing an LA Guns set was on three
Yeah.
three days practice. Pretty decent, pretty decent.
Yeah. No, he did a great job for sure. All right,
Good.
Mitch. Well, we'll leave it there, and we encourage everyone to check out the Talking Metal podcast and
Yep.
Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon podcast.
Yep.
And we will hopefully. I think it's been quite a while since we've done one of these, so let's do another one in a week or two.
Yeah, we got busy traveling and doing stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
let's knock some out. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Cool. All right. Great.